Hi, I'm Erica in the Teen Department at Columbus Public Library.
And this is Keyshawn from Adult Services.
Welcome to Voter Education Part 4, State and Local Elections. Today we'll be covering state elections, state governor, state attorney general, secretary of state legislators, state courts, election calendar, and resources.
State elections. State elections are held on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, the same as federal elections, but it's up to each state to decide when it elects its own officials. The different statewide officials elected in most states will show up on the ballot: governor, attorney general, secretary of state, state representatives, state senators, and judges.
Again, never assume just because your state votes red or blue in the presidential election that it will favor one party in another competitive race. For example, Massachusetts hasn't voted for a Republican presidential candidate since 1984, but from 1990 to 2014, it chose Republican governors 5 out of 7 times. Montana is solidly Republican in presidential races, but supported Democratic candidates in its 2004, 2008, 2012, and 2016 gubernatorial elections. Why do states that traditionally vote red or blue in presidential elections sometimes vote for the opposite party in their state elections? The candidates nominated for state offices by political parties, both the leadership of the parties and the rank-and-file voters who take part in the primary, they live in that state, know its unique concerns, and only need to appeal to voters in that state. For example, generally, a Democrat running in a very red state is going to be much more conservative on some issues than his or her presidential equivalent, and vice versa.
Governors. Governors are the chief executives of each state. They're popularly elected, and the government's term limit for each state is 4 years except for New Hampshire and Vermont, which is 2 years. They're state managers with various responsibilities, such as implementing state laws and veto powers to check the state legislatures, overseeing the operation of the state and its executive branch, advancing and pursuing new and revised policies and programs using tools such as executive orders, executive budgets, and legislative proposals and vetoes, carry out objectives with the help of state departments and agency heads, many of these appointed by the governor. Majority of governors have the authority to appoint state court judges.
Why do governors matter? They can create advisory, coordinating, study, or investigative committees. They can address management and administrative issues such as regulatory reform, environmental impact, hiring freezes, discrimination, and intergovernmental coordination. Governors have the power to use executive orders during emergencies. For example, Governor Cuomo of New York recently announced an executive order that would protect residential and commercial tenants from evictions during the COVID-19 pandemic. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, governors have largely been in charge of statewide lockdowns and mask mandates. And they can trigger these emergency powers not only for public health crises, but also for national disasters, energy crises, and security threats.
Secretary of State. What does the state Secretary of State do? The Secretary of State is an elected official in Georgia. In some states, this position is appointed by the governor. They are the chief clerk of state in charge of major state records and playing a vital part in the operation of elections. They register voters, track annual corporate filings, grant professional licenses, and oversees the state's security markets. For example, if someone needed to register a limited partnership, corporation, or to reserve a business name in Georgia, the Secretary of State would handle this. The Secretary of State's website also contains information on early voting, absentee ballots, and voter registration applications.
Attorney General. What does the state Attorney General do? The Attorney General is a constitutional office created by the Georgia Constitution. They're an elected official, and they're as a legal advisor to the governor of Georgia and other state departments. Some of the responsibilities of the Attorney General of Georgia include representing the state of Georgia in all capital felony appeals before the Supreme Court of Georgia, representing the state of Georgia in all civil cases before any court, and representing the state of Georgia in all cases appearing before the Supreme Court of the United States. Other responsibilities of the Attorney General of Georgia include prosecuting public corruption cases where criminal charges are filed against any person or business for illegal activity when dealing with the state of Georgia, providing opinions on legal questions concerning the state of Georgia or its agencies, which are binding on all state agencies and departments, initiating civil or criminal actions on behalf of the state of Georgia when requested to do so by the governor, and preparing and reviewing contracts and agreements regarding matters on behalf of the state of Georgia. By law, the Attorney General of Georgia cannot provide legal advice to private citizens.
State Legislature. Georgia State Legislature is called the Georgia General Assembly. It has operated continuously since 1777 when Georgia became one of the original 13 states. It meets in the state capitol in Atlanta. Every 2 years, Georgia constituents elect members of the state legislature. Elections happen on even-numbered years. It's made up of two chambers, much like Congress, the House of Representatives and the Senate. The House is made up of 180 state representatives. The current Speaker of the House is David Ralston. The Senate is made up of 56 state senators. The Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, Jeff Duncan, leads the Senate.
So what exactly does the Georgia General Assembly do? The Assembly's main responsibilities include gather to discuss and vote on new bills, determine the state's operating budget. This is generally considered the most important item discussed. Consider proposed amendments to the Georgia Constitution, and to establish the legislative districts. So every 10 years, they decide where the districts that elect State House, State Senate, and U.S. House Representatives begin and end. This is extremely important, which leads us to our next point. What is gerrymandering? Gerrymandering is when state legislators manipulate the boundaries of districts to favor one party over another. And this is the essential reason why it's so important to vote for representatives and senators in the state legislature, because these are the people that are going to be determining these boundaries that will also determine future elections. State courts and judges. What are the different state courts and what exactly do they do? State courts exercise limited jurisdiction within one county. These judges hear misdemeanors, including traffic violations, issue search and arrest warrants, hold preliminary hearings in criminal cases, and try civil matters not reserved exclusively for the superior courts. A state court is established by local legislation introduced in the General Assembly. State court judges are elected to 4-year terms in county-wide, nonpartisan elections. Certain vacancies in state court are filled by appointment of the governor.
Juvenile courts. Juvenile courts handle all cases involving juveniles under 18. The juvenile courts also hear cases involving consent to marriage for minors, enlistment of minors in the military, and emancipation proceedings. The mission of the juvenile courts is to assist and protect children in securing their moral, emotional, mental, and physical welfare, as well as the safety of both the child and community. Juvenile court judges are appointed by the Superior Court judges of the circuit unless local law provides for elections.
Probate court. Original jurisdiction in the probate of wills and administration of descendants' estates is designated to the probate court of each county. Probate judges are also authorized to order involuntary hospitalization of an incapacitated adult or other individuals, and to appoint a legal guardian to handle the affairs of certain specified individuals. Probate courts issue marriage licenses and licenses to carry firearms. In counties where no state court exists, probate judges may hear traffic violations, certain misdemeanors, and citations involving the state game and fish laws. Many probate judges are authorized to serve as the county election supervisor. They also administer oaths of office and make appointments to certain local public offices. Magistrate courts. Magistrate courts are county courts that issue warrants, hear minor criminal offenses. A chief magistrate is usually elected in one county. Other magistrates may be appointed by the chief magistrate, though some also run for election. Magistrate court is the court of first resort for many civil disputes, including county ordinance violations, landlord and tenant cases, and bad checks. No jury trials are held in magistrate court. Civil cases are often argued by the parties themselves rather than by attorneys.
Municipal courts. Cities in Georgia establish municipal courts to adjudicate traffic offenses, local ordinance/violation cases involving building code matters. Municipal court judges are often appointed by the mayor or city council. Some are elected.
The Superior Court. The Superior Court exercises broad civil and criminal jurisdiction. Superior Court judges preside over all felony trials, have exclusive jurisdiction over divorces, and may correct errors made by limited jurisdiction courts. The 49 Superior Court circuits in Georgia are made up of one or more counties. Each circuit has a Chief Superior Court judge and other judges as authorized by the General Assembly. Superior Court judges are constitutional officers who are elected to 4-year terms in circuit-wide nonpartisan elections. Certain vacancies that occur in Superior Court are filled by appointment of the governor. The Supreme Court of Georgia. The Supreme Court of Georgia, the state's highest court, reviews decisions made by other courts in civil and criminal cases. This court alone rules on questions involving the constitutionality of state statutes, all criminal cases involving a death sentence, and petitions from decisions of the Court of Appeals. No trials are held at the appellate level. Oral arguments are heard by the entire court. Each case accepted for review by the Supreme Court is assigned to one of the 9 justices for preparation of a preliminary opinion for circulation to all other justices. The Chief Justice and Presiding Justice serve as officers of the court for 2-year terms. Here's a chart of all the different types of courts in Georgia and the relation to one another and the duties that each serve. If you've been wondering who occupies all the previous offices that we've been talking about, here's a list of Georgia's state executive officers. Governor Brian Kemp, Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, Attorney General Christopher M. Carr, State Treasurer Steve McCoy, State Auditor Greg Griffin, State Superintendent of Schools Richard Woods, and the Muskogee County State Judges are Andrew Prather and Benjamin S. Richardson. Here's the 2020 state elections and voter registration calendar. Here are all the resources to the information that we've discussed throughout this presentation.